preachers as they move roundabout in the country, I plan to recount our life from the time that I began to try to preach. And I use that deliberately, try to preach, because I didn't feel that it turned out that way every time. But anyway, I was brought up in a home where Christ was supreme. I was taught the Word of God, taught to appreciate the Word of God. I obeyed the gospel when I was 15 years of age, and I did a lot of things I shouldn't have done. I came back, I made acknowledgments, and the elders were very cognizant of what should be done. I was teaching a class, they gave me a class, and they gave me the job of making announcements, going around checking on the sick people, and then on Sunday morning getting up and shaking and making announcements. But anyway, I was working with my brother-in-law who had obeyed the gospel. He had been a Methodist. He obeyed the gospel, and he came up preaching. And he had a great influence on my life. He kept after me and says, I want you to get up a little talk. I'll take you out where I preach, and you can make it. Well, I did. It was a little one. I got it up, finally. I got it up. And he took me out to this place that was called Philippi. That's familiar. Anyway, it was called Philippi. And when time came to preach, I mounted the rostrum, and I preached for 13 minutes. And nobody has ever been more completely through than I was at the end of that 13 minutes. But anyway, I thought that would be it. But I went back home, and the very next morning a man called from out in the western part of Murray County, Tennessee, said, hey, Shad, I hear you preaching. I said, no, you got it wrong. But he said, I heard that. Anyway, he said, I want you to come down here next Sunday. And I didn't want to go. And I told him I couldn't come. I said, I got that just one little sermon. He said, well, bring it down here and preach it. I did. And before it dawned on me very clearly, I was going down to one of those country churches every Lord's Day, preaching at least one time, sometimes twice, on Lord's Day. Well, this went on for about 7 years. In that 7 years, we helped start 3 different congregations, besides preaching to the ones that were already established. But anyway, I won't go into all the details, but we moved to Hattiesburg, Mississippi. That was the first local work that we worked at full time. And it was an interesting work. Times were hard. There was a big army camp there at Hattiesburg, Camp Shelby. And when the war in Europe was over, it was a separation center. And soldiers came in there by the thousands, and their girlfriends came by the hundreds at least from all over the country. And I performed more marriages there than any place that we have ever lived. And we have a radio program every day. And from that radio program, we baptized at least 10 or 12 people, I don't remember. But a good number of people, and things were going along pretty well. But Lee will appreciate this, maybe you will too. We only had one man in the congregation to begin with, and he was a song leader. Well, one Sunday morning, he wasn't there, and I was leading the singing. And the song was, It Is Well With My Soul. We only had a few members there in Hattiesburg proper, but the house was filled with soldiers every Sunday morning. And I was up there leading the singing. And I heard this beautiful voice back in the audience. And I picked him out. And when the verse was ended, I pointed to him. I said, Sir, are you a member of the church? He said, yes, sir. I said, would you come up here and lead this song, or lead one song? And he did. He had a beautiful voice. He was a member of the Boston Symphony Orchestra. And it would be about like me getting up here to lead singing with Lee in the audience. But anyway, that's one of the little incidents that happened there. Another, we had to sell our car. Times were pretty hard. It was during World War II. And we had to sell our car, and I had to ride the bus. Well, it cost a nickel. Costing you go all over town just about with a nickel, at least till you had to change buses. If you had to change buses, it was nickel. But anyway, the bus didn't run from our house across town to the church building, only a mile. But anyway, it was our turn to take care of the Lord's Supper. And our older son and I were going to the building, and we had kept the grape juice at our house in the ice box, and it was an ice box. It wasn't a refrigerator, it was an ice box. But anyway, we were on our way. He wanted to carry the grape juice. Mistake. He carried and he dropped it. And it broke. Well, we got to the building. In a little while, people began to come, not too many, but some. There was one lady whose husband wasn't a member, and he brought her. He wasn't intending to stay. But he saw our plight, and he knew somewhere, I don't know where it was, we didn't have these convenience stores that you just go into any time, whether it's Sunday or not. And he knew a place where he could get some grape juice, otherwise we wouldn't have had the Lord's Supper that day. But anyway, that happened there, and I thought things were going along pretty good. But this one man, one day showed up at our door. He knocked on the door. I went to the door, and he came in. I invited him in, and we had a conversation. He did most of the talking. And in the course of the conversation, he said, Brother Edwards said, if you can find a place to go, I'd advise you to take it. And the rest of that was, he said, for preachers aren't nearly as hard to get now as they were when we got you. And anyway, after he left, I knew Grace could hear him. I asked Grace, I said, did Kyle seem like he might want me to move? She said, yeah. Anyway, things weren't going evidently as good with him as I thought they were. But from there, due to the influence of Brother L.O. Sanderson that I mentioned this morning, who was a good friend and brother, he lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma at the time. We moved